Welcome to this week's Gritty Life Devotional. I've decided that I want to start in the book that's began it all, which is Genesis. And this book is full of history that helps us to understand so many other things as we continue to read the Word of God. If you've done any studying of the Bible in the past, we know in Genesis is where we hear the story of creation and the fall of man and so many other great characters and stories of the Bible. And Genesis was written by Moses, and many refer to it as the book of beginnings, but I love to look at it as the famous teacher Joyce Meyer refers to it instead as the book of opportunities. Because as we take a look at some of the characters of Genesis, we'll see that many of the people in Genesis were presented with opportunities. We find people that were blessed when they took advantage of the opportunities and chose well. And we find out there's consequences of those who do not choose as well. And I just think what a better place to start than with how God created mankind. So in Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 and 27, we read, God said, "Let us, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, make mankind in our image, after our likeness, and let them have complete dominion over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, the beasts, and over all the earth, and over everything that creeps upon the earth." So God created man in his own image. In the image and likeness of God, he created him, male and female, he created them. So in other words, we see that God created Adam in his own image, in his own likeness. And then in verse 28, we see that he also gave him authority over everything else that he created. So humankind was made to be the ruler of this world here on earth and to carry God's spirit. But creating us in this manner, God created man to have free will. You see, God doesn't force himself on anyone. He doesn't treat us like slaves, forcing us to submit and worship him. He wants us to freely choose him and to serve him and love him freely. So one of the first opportunities we see in this book of choices, in this book of the Bible about choice, is a choice for man to fellowship with God and live for him. I mean, can you imagine having your husband or wife loving you only because they were forced to? I don't think I would do well with that. How would it feel if you knew that everything your spouse or loved one did for you and to you was because they had no other choice? I don't think that kind of love would be fulfilling. And God feels the same way. He doesn't want us to love him and serve him as if we're robots. He gives us a choice. So as we continue in the next few weeks to explore Genesis, we'll see that man doesn't always make the right choices with the free will that God gave us. And that's crazy. But we'll also begin to see the amazing God we serve that gives people chance after chance after chance. I know I've had them, even when they don't deserve it. So today, I want to encourage you with the thought that God created us in his image so that we have the opportunity to be in fellowship with him and to serve him with our lives. So the question today is, are you using that opportunity wisely or are you wasting it away? I encourage you, take a few minutes today to fellowship with God and let him know that I choose to serve you freely today, God. And remember all that God has provided for you and brought you through, and worship him freely because he gave us that choice.